Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens finally reunite last night on Friday Night Smackdown, seemingly confirming their tag team championship match against the Usos for WrestleMania. Bray Wyatt was not on the show last night, but there may have been a reference to Wyatt that some fans may have missed during the Fox broadcast. An Intercontinental Championship match has been confirmed for WrestleMania, but it will be a triple threat match for Gunther's Gold. Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair brawl last night on SmackDown ahead of their WrestleMania Championship match. An update on a spoiler for a WrestleMania tag match involving some people from the women's division. When and what does WWE have planned for splitting the Universal and WWE Championship? We've got details on that. Trish Stratus discusses her return to WWE. Could there be an angle plan for the Hall of Fame induction ceremony involving Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio this year? Austin Theory talks about John Cena's infamous promo against him on Raw a couple of weeks ago, and WWE releases the full Bloodline story on YouTube. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of World Wrestling Entertainment. Let's start off talking about the will they, won't they. We all know they were going to. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens have now finally reunited on SmackDown this week. Since turning his back on Roman Reigns, and of course by extension the Bloodline in January, Sami Zayn has been on a mission, but he knew he couldn't do it alone. And after weeks upon weeks of plainly laying out all for his best friend Kevin Owens to hear, after weeks upon weeks of near beatdowns and some actual beatdowns, the prize fighter grabbed and embraced Zayn as SmackDown concluded on Friday night. But things looked far less rosy at the beginning of the evening. Cody Rhodes kicked things off on SmackDown, and after once more acknowledging his WrestleMania 39 opponent, asked KO to come to the ring. He obliged, but the American Nightmare wasn't done there and proceeded to call Sami Zayn to the ring as well. Owens stated that he heard everything Sami had to say, but Zayn cut him off, stating that he hadn't heard everything KO had to say and he wanted to. So with that in mind, and taking into account that Sami had recently said they didn't even need to be friends to work together, Owens had a simple message: why would I fight for someone who doesn't even want to be my friend? Zayn proceeded to approach KO in the arena parking lot, telling him they're brothers and that he loves him, only for Owens to drive off. Still, Zayn had to come face to face with Jey Uso later on in the evening. Eventually, things took a turn with Jey attacking Sami. Soon, his brother Jimmy came to the ring to continue the beatdown. That's when KO's music hit, and after clearing the Usos from the ring, he embraced Sami Zayn in front of a packed crowd in Kansas City, Missouri, that was more than thrilled to see the pair reuniting. So indeed, what we knew was coming. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are now officially once again a tag team. They're now once again officially on the same page. An announcement hasn't been made regarding a WWE Tag Team Championship match at WrestleMania as of right now. That could come Monday night on Raw. That could come Friday night next week on SmackDown. But indeed, it looks like we are going to get Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus the Usos at WrestleMania for the Undisputed Tag Team Championships. Now, Bray Wyatt, his future has been up in the air. His status has been up in the air. His WrestleMania status has also been up in the air. And on last night's SmackDown, there actually was a Bray Wyatt reference that you probably missed, and we've got details on what it was. Now, Bray Wyatt and Uncle Howdy may have not appeared on last night's SmackDown, but it didn't mean there was no reference on the episode. Behind LA Knight during a backstage segment, clearly visible over the shoulder of Kayla Braxton, was a big Bray Wyatt logo. Now, what's next for LA Knight? Well, we do have some more details on what's next for him. When it comes to Bray Wyatt, of course, he wasn't on SmackDown last night. He hasn't been on recent episodes of Raw or SmackDown either. It had been reported that his WrestleMania status was up in the air. There were false rumors that he had walked out of WWE over creative. It was later reported by Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful that he was dealing with an undisclosed physical issue. There had been also reports that WWE Creative had been told that he was ill, but he was expected to be back before WrestleMania. Of course, the days, the minutes, the seconds are ticking down to the grandest stage of them all, and no sign of Wyatt last night. Hopefully, we'll get an update regarding what is going to happen with him for WrestleMania soon. He was at one point scheduled to be facing Bobby Lashley at the Show of Shows, but of course, with his status up in the air, we just don't know what's going on with Bray Wyatt Wyatt right now. Now, one thing we might know a bit more details on is what's happening with LA Knight and if he is even going to appear at WrestleMania. Now, a new tidbit of information about whether or not we'll get to see LA Knight appear at WrestleMania 39 has been revealed. Of course, he's had a fascinating road to WrestleMania after being called up to the main roster, from arriving to SmackDown as the founder of the Maximum Male Models, Max Dupree, in June 2022, through to the Mountain Dew Pitch Black match against Bray Wyatt at the Royal Rumble in January 2023. It's been a wild ride so far, to say the least. But we finally get to see LA Knight in LA at WrestleMania. Well, according to WrestleVotes on Twitter, yes, although perhaps not on the card exactly. However, it may, in a non-traditional way, as the answer does not make it seem like an announced sanctioned match is in his future. Now, it's quite interesting because this is what the Twitter account said. So it came from a fan on Twitter saying to WrestleVotes, "Yo, WrestleVotes, just a question, but is LA Knight going to be on the card in any way?" And WrestleVotes says, "In any way, yes." Now, there had been rumors and speculation that he could be involved in some kind of angle with Stone Cold Steve Austin. We do know that Austin is going to be in LA for WrestleMania. Previously, he had been pitched matches against Brock Lesnar. They were apart on creative and money. He had then been pitched a match against Roman Reigns. He just never got back to WWE, according to reports. More recently, he has been pitched something involving LA Knight, and that could be what happens at WrestleMania. Steve Austin versus LA Knight in WrestleMania. Could it be an impromptu match as it was last year? Anything certainly is possible, and that is what is being speculated right now. Now, speaking of WrestleMania, we now have details on what is going to happen regarding the Intercontinental Championship at the Showcase of the Immortals. On SmackDown, there was a brutal battle between Sheamus and Drew McIntyre over who would go on to face Gunther at WrestleMania 39 for the IC title. While mid-match, there was a major move which saw both men down nearly for the 10 count. Instead, Gunther jumped from ringside, confronting both men. Imperium would then go on to attack both Sheamus and Drew McIntyre, leading to a decisive non-finish. However, as they were leaving the ring, Adam Pearce appeared on the Titantron to make it official. Gunther would be facing both Sheamus and Drew McIntyre for the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania 39. Of course, again, it had been put out there quite a lot that we were going to get this Intercontinental title triple threat match, but now it's official. Gunther versus McIntyre versus Sheamus. Of course, Gunther, the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion in modern history. Is he going to break eventually the Honky Tonk Man's record? Anything certainly possible, but that match, no doubt, is going to be, as McIntyre and Sheamus would describe it, a banger. Now, speaking of WrestleMania 2, of course, one match that is confirmed for WrestleMania is for the SmackDown Women's Championship, Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley. And after Charlotte Flair came to the ring to give a quick oratory exhibition, she was interrupted by her upcoming challenger, Rhea Ripley. Ripley giving a passionate speech as to why she didn't just want to win at WrestleMania, she needed to win. After throwing a cheap shot at Charlotte, Ripley and Dominic Mysterio attempted to leave the ringside area, but Flair had other plans. Exacting swift revenge on Ripley, Charlotte Flair kicked off a wild brawl that saw multiple referees and security guards get assaulted by the Stars as well in the melee. While they eventually were separated, Charlotte Flair stood tall, holding the SmackDown Women's Championship high above, while Ripley was seen seething. Now, when it comes to Ripley versus Flair, there's been quite a few conflicting reports over the last few days about what is going to be the WrestleMania Night 1 main event. Of course, with WrestleMania 39 2 weeks away, it will be WWE Chief Content Officer Paul Triple H Levesque's first in terms of booking the show. But an earlier report from the Wrestling Observer newsletter, which suggested that Night 1's main event was likely to be between Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Women's Championship, appears to be far from certain. That's because Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select is now reporting that the April 1st card is still without a main event. But they've also learned some details surrounding it. Now, Fightful are reporting that if Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair has indeed been selected to main event Night 1 in SoFi Stadium, which is what Meltzer was saying, folks who would typically be made aware, including the talent being involved, they've not been told that that's the case right now. So the Wrestling Observer newsletter's report also stated that, indeed, it was going to be Flair versus Ripley in the main event of Night 1, and that was because of, quote, political reasons, and that's what they've said. It was because of political reasons, being that they wanted to have a women's title match main event at least one of the nights of the show. But Fightful was told that came about because WrestleMania 38 didn't have a women's main event to close either night of last year's event. Additionally, Fightful confirmed that at one point, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens teaming up to take on the Usos was actually the plan to headline Night 1. It went on to state that many in the company are still pushing for that indeed to happen. Also set for Night 1, though not involved in the main event scene, will be the showdown between Seth freaking Rollins and the social media megastar Logan Paul. Lastly, Fightful hasn't heard anything to suggest that the contest between Asuka and Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship was being considered for the main event. So that report from Meltzer suggesting that Flair versus Ripley was definitely going to be Night 1's main event is far from confirmed at this point. Basically, they're saying nothing's been decided as of right now, or if it has, certainly the talent, the producers, and other people, they haven't been informed of such. So basically, Meltzer's report is not completely accurate, which some people would say, well, what's new there? Speaking of WrestleMania 2, a bit of an update when it comes to a tag team match involving the women's division. Now, according to WrestleVotes on Twitter, quote, as of last creative discussion, the women's fatal four-way at WrestleMania will be Raquel and Liv versus Shayna and Ronda versus Natalya and Shotzi versus Carmella and Chelsea Green. Announced by commentary on SmackDown, there will be 2 showcase matches, one men's and one women's at WrestleMania 39. Even more, there would be qualifying matches to determine who would participate, and those qualifiers have begun immediately. The first match was the pairing of Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez versus Emma and Tegan Nox, which was won, of course, by Morgan and Rodriguez. While no men's qualifying matches have been announced yet, it doesn't mean that there isn't already buzz around the potential matchup. Of course, it's worth mentioning that the previously reported men's showcase would feature the Street Profits versus the Alpha Academy versus the Viking Raiders versus Braun Strowman and Ricochet. That was also shared by WrestleVote. So that's what those showcase matches are going to be. I guess that's how they're going to get more people on the show this year, even though Triple H said he wanted a smaller card with no Battle Royals. Now, one of the biggest questions in WWE at the moment is what are they going to do with the WWE Championship and the Universal Championship? It's a general well-known kind of consensus, isn't it, that they need to split the titles, with one title being on SmackDown and the other being on Raw. Now, a new report has revealed a new update on plans to split the WWE World Championships. Of course, at WrestleMania 38 last year, Roman Reigns defeated Brock Lesnar to retain the Universal Championship and win the WWE Championship. Since then, Reigns has defended both titles as the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. In July 2022, of course, Vince McMahon retired from WWE as CEO and chairman, whilst Paul Triple H Levesque took over all creative duties for the main roster in his place. This has led to fans speculating when and if Levesque will split the titles so that each brand has their own respective world championship again. In an exclusive interview with WrestleVotes via Give Me Sport, Triple H is planning to, quote, fix Vince's final mess and have 2 world titles by SummerSlam 2023. The report reads, quote, this is the final mess, and you can really call it a mess. This is the final obstacle, and the new team is working to overcome that. There was never a plan when Roman Reigns won the titles a year ago. Triple H was handed this mess by SummerSlam. They're going to have 2 titles. Before the build-up to WrestleMania 39, WrestleNews.co initially reported that Triple H had plans for 2 World Championship matches at the event if The Rock had been available for the show. Of course, Cody Rhodes now will challenge Roman Reigns for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship at WrestleMania 39. Rhodes recently spoke about how he would split the titles, basically saying that management should just step in and take it out of his hands. Whether that's what WWE decide to go for, whether they do it via draft, that could be something they do in the future as well. We'll have to wait and see. Trish Stratus, of course, recently made her return to WWE television. She's making her return to the ring at WrestleMania as well. She returned to WWE on the February 27th episode of Monday Night Raw, siding with Lita and Becky Lynch as they defeated Damage Control, Dakota Kai and Io Sky for the Women's Tag Team Championships. It would later be announced that Stratus would be joining Lita and Lynch in a 6-person tag team match at WrestleMania 39, taking on all 3 members of Damage Control. In an interview with Bleacher Report, the Hall of Famer spoke about her decision to return, saying, quote, I've been speaking with WWE for a little while now about doing something because I did the live events. There's always ideas thrown at me. Once they saw me get in there with the girls, it becomes, this could be something. I have a great relationship with WWE, so we've always talked, would you come back? Yeah, if it's the right moment. If the right moment is challenging and I can touch another generation and make a difference, that would be great. And those boxes would have to be checked. Of course, Stratus initially retired as Women's Champion in 2007. Was it 2006? I think it was 2006. That would make appearances for WWE in the subsequent years. She was inducted into the Hall of Fame as part of the class of 2013, was honored as one of the greatest female superstars on the Raw 25th anniversary episode in January 2018. Of course, in August 2018, she teamed up with Lita to face Mickie James and Alicia Fox at the Evolution pay-per-view. Her last in-ring appearance came in 2019. She challenged Charlotte Flair at SummerSlam in her hometown of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. In the same interview, she reflected on her match with Flair as the perfect ending for her, but indeed, she's going to be coming back at WrestleMania. Now, speaking of Hall of Famers and the Hall of Fame, does WWE have an angle planned for the Hall of Fame ceremony itself later this year? Well, a new hint has emerged on a potential storyline angle that could take place at the 2023 WWE Hall of Fame ceremony. Ahead of WrestleMania 39, several wrestling veterans will be inducted into the Hall of Fame on March 31st. WWE has confirmed current SmackDown star Rey Mysterio will be part of the class of 2023. Rey is currently feuding with his son Dominic Mysterio following months of tormenting his father. Dominic has now challenged Rey to a match at WrestleMania, which Rey has been reluctant to accept. There has been some speculation that one final angle involving Rey Mysterio and Dominic will take place at the Hall of Fame ceremony ahead of a WrestleMania showdown. These rumors have now been acknowledged by WWE commentator Corey Graves, who has asked Dominic to leave his father alone on March 31st. On After the Bow, Graves pleaded, quote, "I am pleading publicly with Dominic Mysterio to let the Hall of Fame go off as planned. The logical conclusion is a fight. I'm asking Dominic publicly on behalf of all of us fans who love this business, who love WWE, who love Rey Mysterio on a fandom level, on a personal level, let it be." Now, some have theorized that at the Hall of Fame ceremony, the Rey versus Dominic match will become a mask match with Rey wagering his mask or career to stop his son. Of course, it has been reported that Conan will induct Rey Mysterio into the Hall of Fame at the request of the luchador legend. The Great Muta has also been announced for the Hall of Fame this year as well. So finally, after weeks of refusing, maybe the Hall of Fame will be the night that Rey Mysterio finally accepts his son's challenge. Now, Austin Theory is going to be facing John Cena at WrestleMania, defending his United States Championship. And he's broken his silence, Austin Theory, about the promo that Cena laid upon him on the March 6th edition of Raw when Cena returned and was confronted by Theory. After a challenge for WrestleMania 39, Cena verbally broke down the 25-year-old and told him he wasn't ready to face the 16-time world champion at the Showcase of the Immortals. Despite his reservations, Cena eventually accepted the challenge to set up United States Championship Showdown. On the latest edition of the After the Bow podcast with Corey Graves, Theory discussed the Raw promo with Cena. He stated, quote, "I stood in the ring with John Cena. I looked him in his face. He said what he had to say, and it seems like he's really, really upset. I looked that man in his eyes, and I've seen it. I've seen fear, you know. And this is John Cena, man. This guy never gives up. The man that's not afraid of anything. I could see it. He says, I'm one pair of trunks away from being a jabroni. That's what they showed you up to, that's what you showed up to my show to say to me. I'm just standing there because I'm pretty speechless. I'm like, wow, this is the guy I grew up watching that motivated me, that inspired me, and that knows this. He's out there in front of his home crowd and he's just trying to be cool. At WrestleMania, man, those same people from Boston, they're not going to be there. You know who's going to be there, though? My family. And they're going to watch me whoop his ass." So that was Theory's response to the promo, which some people speculated actually buried Austin Theory that night. Finally, of course, the Bloodline's been a saga. It's been a saga, not just a storyline, a saga. And WWE has released the full Bloodline story video on YouTube. Since his return at SummerSlam 2020, Roman Reigns underwent a heel turn and a character change. No longer known as the Big Dog, Reigns associated himself with Paul Heyman. He soon won the Universal Championship to kickstart his legendary reign. Following his title victory, he then feuded with Jey Uso. It led to a Hell in a Cell match and an I Quit match. Over the past 3 years, Roman Reigns, Jay, and Jimmy were then joined by Solo Sikoa and Honorary Sami Zayn to become one of the most dominant factions in WWE history. Of course, the inclusion of Zayn especially caused the group to become a weekly highlight on television. On Friday, the company released a near full 2-hour video documenting the entire Bloodline story. This seems to indicate that the end of the saga may be drawing near, as Roman Reigns will defend the Undisputed Universal Championship against Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 39 on April 2nd. Again, if you haven't watched it, it's on YouTube. It's well worth a watch, and it tells the entire story. We've been living it week to week, but it's also interesting to see it condensed into a 2-hour saga. It's excellent. But there you go, guys. It's latest WWE news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right-hand corner. Remember, you can join the WN365 roster by clicking that join button. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.